So, what's on the bench today? Well, it's not a radio, at least not yet. As you could probably tell from the title, it's Resistor Bonanza Day. Now, I get a lot of, probably I'm about half and half where I get my parts. Half of them probably come from, your large national suppliers. When I, run out of a single part, reorder that single part, I'll get large orders together, but and most of that probably comes, large majority, from DigiKey. Fantastic company, great customer service. If you ever can't find a part that is still manufactured today, call their customer service techs. They're great people, man. They just zero you right in on the part that you need, or if you've got some oddball specification for something you need. But and in other parts from other suppliers. But the other half of the stuff that I get is either surplus or auctions, and that's what you're looking at today. And I call this a resistor bonanza because what you see here, and actually a lot of it's hidden behind these two stacks of boxes, which I'll get out of the way in a minute. I think it was around $45 shipped to me. Now, like I say, I get most of my parts from DigiKey. Well, almost all of what's here, that's where it came from originally, DigiKey. So, starting on the left, these are actually two resistor assortments. This one goes from, you see up here at the top here, from 10 ohms all the way up to 1 meg, and then this lot over here goes from 0.47 ohms up to 1 meg. Now, this set will be, I won't use a lot, but occasionally you need that oddball resistor, because resistors come in different series. So, you have your standard, let's say, values. Like, if you were to go from 1K, the next one would be a 1.2K, then a 1.5, 1.8, a 2, 2.7. So, those are what you see in most of your electronics, that standard spacing. This one is more tightly spaced in value from one resistor to the next. So you're going to have a lot of decimal point values in here. Like in this pack here, you can see, 13.3, 13.7, 14, 14.3, 15.4, which is nice, especially if you're trying to really fine-tune a circuit, and you need to raise or lower a voltage in a circuit by just a small amount, instead of trying to, string resistors together in parallel or in series to come up with an oddball value. That's what this series of resistors, or they come in handy. So, like I say, won't get used a lot, but occasionally I do need that oddball, resistor value. And you can see, most of the ending, like, 97.6, so lots of decimal point values. But when you need them, there is no substitute. So in any case, this set is a quarter watt. So you can see, like I said, nice thing is DigiKey. So that's who I get most of my resistors from in the first place. And then the other kit, now these are both Yageo, both this stack and this stack. They're Yageo resistors, both metal oxide film. This is a 1 watt resistor kit. So this will have this is more of what your standard resistance is, that your values that you're used to seeing. So you can even just see through the pack there, 56, 43 ohms, so 18, 11. There's going to be, this is a little bit more spaced out, but like I say, it has all of your standard values that you'd be used to seeing. So, again, DigiKey. Now this kit has a little bit of age to it, judging by these paper tags. They're pretty much not, I think this was right around their cutoff time when they stopped using this style paper tag and went to the barcoded tags, because if you look at them, and even some of these that are still, obviously have never been used, you can see it's about, there are some of the more modern tags in there. So actually, is there a date? No, I don't see a packaging date on that tag. But in any case, this is right around, it looks like, the transition time. But they're metal oxide films, so extremely stable over time, so you don't have to worry about them drifting out of range. But yeah, I use a lot of these. Now, one thing to be careful of, I ran across this one time years ago, bit me in the ass. If you work on tube type equipment, something you have to be aware of. is voltage rating on your components. Now, everybody's familiar with capacitors. I just reach down here to my scrap can and pull one out. So, you know, here's a CAN capacitor. This was probably a actually, I know what this was. This came out of a tram. So it's a multi-section 40 microfarad at 450 volt. And everybody knows you don't put in a lower voltage rating capacitor. Resistors, not so much. People, you know, you decipher the color code on it. Well, the only thing that tells you is the resistance value and the tolerance. Has nothing to do with the voltage rating. So something to be aware of is the voltage rating, because that's something that did bite me in the butt one time. I ordered resistors, and they were high quality Dale resistors. They were, I think, 1% resistors. So, you know, they weren't cheap. They were good, really high quality resistors. I stuck them in a radio that I was restoring, replaced all the, you know, like I do on most of the radios, all the 1 and 2 watt resistors, and turned it on. It worked for about 5 minutes, and nothing popped, no explosion, no sound, no indication anything was going to happen. It just, the receiver went dead. Dead, just like I turned the switch off. The lights were still on, but that's about it. The lights were on, but nobody was home. Come to find out, one of my brand new resistors that I had just installed was open. Alright, what the hell's going on here? Okay, I guess, you know, I'm thinking shit can happen. I understand that parts, you know, manufacturing, something might have gone bad. So I go in, I stick another one in there, just like the one I just replaced. Turned the radio on, worked for about 5 minutes, same thing. Receiver shut down. What the hell's going on? It burned out again. Well, I get in checking the spec sheet on the resistors that I'd ordered, and I ordered them from DigiKey, but it doesn't really matter who I got them from. It was my fault. I hadn't checked the spec sheet. The resistors were only rated at a maximum working voltage of, I think it was 250 volts. And that circuit had like 400 volts on it. So, yeah, it was operating way out of its range. And they just go open. And they still looked perfect. You know, they were kind of like a brownish red color, but about the same exact size as this. But there was no indication on the outside that it had gotten hot. There was no bubbling, burning, nothing. It just, when it, you know, I guess that over voltage, it just fried the metal oxide film coating on the inside. So, something to be aware of. Now, these are 350 volt. So, you know, when I put this kind of stuff in an inventory, I always try and keep them in original packs, and I always write the operating voltages on them, so I know. So if I'm putting this in something that's less than 350 volts, it's fine. If I need something higher, I've got other resistors for that. But in any case, there's a lot of money just in these boxes right here, these kits. So there was a, you know, ka-ching, good deal right there. Get these out of the way. We can get back here to some of this other stuff, because like I say, the boxes are hiding a lot more. Okay, and the other stuff that was included in this lot is everything right here. So lots and lots and lots. Now there are some film resistors, but it's mainly, now actually here's a bunch more metal film, smaller. These are the older, you know. Now these are quarter watts, you know, DigiKeys again. So a lot more resistors, you know. Same thing here. Here's some other ones. Most of these are half watts. Everything nicely. Everything's labeled. Like I say, again, DigiKey. Now these are all, everything in this pile are half watt Dale resistors, which I use quite a good many of. I like them. Good quality manufacturers. So yeah, lots of Dale resistors. 20K, I actually go through quite a bit of those, so yep, lots of, and those are, what are these, 1%, 50 parts per million, so yeah, good resistors, a bunch more miscellaneous, DigiKey, looks like standard values though, because yeah, there's a 1 megs, but these are some really nice ones. Now, most of these are wire wound, but there are some film types in here also, but this one resistor right here, you look at that, Caddick. That's one of the first things I saw when I opened this pack up, and I saw that resistor, and I thought, holy crap, that cost as much as this entire, what I paid for it. I've had to buy Caddick resistors before. Now, if there is a Cadillac or Lamborghini, Porsche, or Ferrari of the resistor world, Caddick is it. They make specialty resistors. Military uses that. Matter of fact, that's the only place I've ever really seen them. I'm sure there's other applications, maybe the aircraft industry, but usually in the critical can't fail category. That's where you will find catic resistors. Now, they make really high voltage, and that's what this is. This is a 7.5, that's an 80 mega ohm, 7.5 watt, 15 kilovolt rated resistor. So, yeah, 15 kilovolts, really, really, really high voltage. So, great for amplifier circuits or whatnot. But, yeah, like I said, I saw that and I was like, holy shit, that probably cost more than what I paid for the entire lot. But, like I said, everything here, now, yeah, don't pay attention to the Ace hardware bags. Someone stuck them in them, so I'm assuming they bought out a bunch of Ziploc bags from out of business Ace hardware. But you can see all the vapor barrier bag chunks that are in here. Someone was nice enough. These are all military surplus. So military doesn't use cheap components. They're really high end. So they list manufacturer codes. Most of these are older. I'm looking for a date on this one. Don't see one on that one. A lot of your military stuff will have date codes, like there's a 1968. But you can see the tolerance on these. Grant, it's an oddball value, 2,918 ohms, but it's a 0.1%. I think I even saw some 0.01% ones in here somewhere. But, yeah, lots of nice wire wounds, all kinds of different types, manufacturers. But like I say, luckily the person put the original stock number labels in with them, so, I don't have to try and figure out what the hell they are and tolerance and anything. But, yeah, lots and lots of nice ones. Yeah, some nice big ones here. And these are, what are these? 900 ohm. And trying to see, what are these? Rheons, the brand. And these were from back in 1965. But wire wound, you really don't have to worry about them changing value. They're not like your unreliable carbon composition resistors that can change value drastically over the decades. Wire wounds are very stable. So I think this is one of the really high precision ones. Yeah, 0.01% tolerance. 400K or 400,000 ohms. An air core. I like these. These are nice in really high temp situations because they're air core, so air can circulate through them. But yeah, if you had to buy these things, like I say, my God, a lot of these resistors, if I use it, well, shit, if I just use this one resistor, it paid for the whole lot pretty much. But a lot of these resistors, just a couple of them would have cost damn close to what I paid for the entire lot. So, yep, there's what a resistor bonanza looked like. Like I say, there's about $45 shipped to the door for everything you see here, and the other, what is that, 8 boxes of resistors, which there's thousands of resistors in those boxes. So, keep your eye out. You never know when you may run across something like this. Like I say, just one thing to remember when you're doing stuff, always keep an eye on voltage ratings. If you work on solid state, you probably really don't even have to worry about that. The highest voltage you're going to see is the 120 volts at the, your AC line socket. But if you work on tube types, definitely something to always keep in mind. Because like I said, it bit me in the butt one time, so something to be aware of. So there you go. That's what's on my bench today.